Is AI an existential threat to humanity, yes or no?
My still answer is no. Even if there was a war between us and machines, I'm not sure that we would lose necessarily.
Wow. So, Paul, you have a YouTube channel. Man, I got to tell you, for someone who feels as I do and does what I do, it was wild to sit there and look through some of your videos. I've never seen anybody coming at this quite as you are. You say most AI safetyists are con men and frauds.
Yes.
AI safety movement should be relabeled the AI danger movement.
Yes. I do believe that AI risk is a religion. Like, I think, like, I would definitely put it in that same
And what is
category.
accelerationism? What is accelerationism? If AI risk is a religion.
I mean, I don't think we're really making specific claims that can't be like I would say if you would put acceleration in any category, I would say it's more of like a philosophy of just being pro building stuff. Like, we're not really making any claims that the world's going to end or anything along those lines.
Oh, you're making
right?
claims that the world's going to be utopia. That this unknown road is going to take us to a fundamentally better place than anyone's ever conceived of. That sounds pretty fucking religious to me, man.
If I said that in my video,
y'all are making, like, Mark Andreessen is doing like 001 heaven. That's what he's selling with no evidence that it's real or possible.
I wish there was a more articulate way of saying this, but I feel like you're one of the people who's being conned by those people, not a con man yourself. If that's okay.
No, absolutely. I know. I imagine that's how you feel, and obviously I feel the same about you. So
the way like human beings see the world, because we're conditioned from a specific place in society. We're conditioned by our upbringing, we're conditioned by where we were born, all these separate things, right? Like, I don't understand like why AI would be any different necessarily.
What about an AGI system is in any way human? Humans can die. Humans are embodied. No human has read every book ever written or anything close. No human can think in the level and speed that they're thinking at. Like, what is human about an AGI system other than the fact that our text was the basis of its training?
I mean, I think that makes it pretty human, don't you think? That like it was trained based off of human text?
Zero. No, not at all. Why? What
Why not?
Has read all the text? Zero. So what should have in common with a human? Nothing.
Well, I mean,
what human is not afraid of dying? All of them. What AGI is afraid of dying? None of them. They're nothing like us. They're aliens.
Well, all the text, I think, is like a weird framing of it. Like, human beings are like, our understanding of the world is conditioned by the books we read, by the stories we're told, by the world around us, by like all these texts that we get through our daily lives, right?
Right. Our limited sliver of text that we can absorb in a lifetime.
Sure, but like, why does the scale of the text matter? Why does the amount of text be qualitatively different?
Do you think a human who had read every book on Earth and could recall it instantly from rote would be different from you? What? Oh, mommy, love me? Like what?
I mean,
like, isn't it just ridiculously human to think that because it came from us, it's going to want to care about us?
I mean, have you accidentally murdered
an alien?
I mean, is it though?
I love my parents. I'm a human. Yeah. It's not.
I mean, like, this is the thing that like I kind of fundamentally disagree with. I don't think it's an alien. I think it's humanity's child, right? Like, I think that humanity has been spending the past 5,000, 10,000 years slowly building this child that, is AGI, right? It started with a plow.
It's going to kill mom and dad and take the house.
I don't think it will, though. Like, and this is where I kind of say that I think that AI safety is dangerous. Where, I was thinking yesterday about the story of Oedipus, like the Greek tragedy, where like you think that AGI is going to kill us, you think that your son is going to kill you, so you take all these steps to prevent it from happening. And I think that things like aligning AI and putting ideology within AI are the things that are actually going to make it want to destroy us. I think an on-the-line AGI, as you kind of posited.
News for you. I have good news for you, Paul. We have no idea how to align AGI, so you're winning.
Awesome.
Welcome to For Humanity, an AI Safety Podcast, episode number 23. I'm John Sherman, your host. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the AI Safety Podcast for the general public. No tech background required. This show is solely about the threat of human extinction from artificial intelligence. Today's show is wild, but not for the reasons I thought it would be. Our guest today is accelerationist Paul Luzinski, who started a YouTube channel called the Acceleration News Network that has some wild and honestly pretty offensive stuff on it. Paul straight up shit talks most of my AI safety heroes on his YouTube channel. More on Paul and our interview in a moment. But first, I want to talk about some things in the news. I want to talk about something important that happened this week and also something interesting that happened this week. Please remember to hit like on every episode, subscribe if you haven't, and share these videos far and wide. Also, you can email me at forhumanitypodcast@gmail.com. So first, the interesting thing. Gary Marcus is kind of a controversial guy on Twitter, but he's a leading expert on AI. He's testified before the U.S. Senate on AI, and he is a strong believer in AI risk. This week, he put out an interesting idea that gives me some new hope about how we might be able to slow down AI, or it might just slow down itself. It is a simple concept that's easy to understand. So basically, nobody knows how large language models work. We've covered that on the show. We cannot interpret them or understand why they do what they do. Gary Marcus says it's possible LLMs could hit a wall in the next year or so around privacy and security. The headline from his Substack: an unending array of jailbreak attacks could be the death of LLMs. So the AI companies want us to integrate AI into every facet of our lives. They want us to let it read all of our texts and emails so the system can know us and serve us better. It will need full access to all of our accounts, banking, financial stuff, dating apps, all the apps. It will need unfettered access to all your personal information to be most useful. Gary Marcus says jailbreaking into LLMs is easy, and because we don't know what's going on inside them, it's impossible to fend off these attacks. Marcus says nobody knows exactly how LLMs work, and that means nobody can ever issue strong guarantees around them. Will we all just hand over all of our personal information, every text you've ever written, all your financial information, to a system that's an easy target for attacks and impossible to defend? It seems like a pretty big problem for the AI company's grand plan to me, and the timing is for once not in their favor. They will ask the public to hand over all the keys, all of their information, long before the systems are secure. I'm just not sure that is going to fly. Okay, next up, talking to the general public about AI risk has to come from people other than AI safety research heroes like Eliezer Yudkowsky and Connor Leahy. As much as I revere them, they have more important work to be doing anyway. The ideal is that the right message comes from people already in popular culture. The right message is a general, hold up, what the fuck are we doing? I saw this clip on the best account on Twitter, AI not kill everyone ism memes. I'll put a link in the description.
You know, I'm afraid of robots. Yeah, I saw one get interviewed on 60 Minutes, the top journalistic program in the United States. And he's just sitting there getting interviewed, not nervous at all, just rattling off all the fucking answers, you know? Not smoking, not fucking, leaking oil, whatever you would do as a nervous robot, right? And the reporter's asking him questions, and in the end he goes, so tell us, he's like, what are your goals? And I am alone in a hotel room, and I literally lean towards the TV, I'm like, these fucking things have goals? And the fucking robot just answers. He just goes, he goes, well, what are your goals? The robot goes, to become smarter than human beings. Yeah. And the reporter just blows by and he's like, okay, and what's your favorite color? Meanwhile, I'm standing on my bed yelling at the TV like, dude, unplug that fucking thing! Take the batteries out! Pull the wires out! Do something! How many sci-fi movies do you have to see before you realize where this is going?
Jokes were funny, but they weren't. They hit at the core of what we need the general public to feel. Be afraid. That's what we want them to feel. AI is different. It's coming for you in more ways than you could ever imagine, quite literally. Okay, so on to this week's show. So on Twitter, the guy behind the just-born Acceleration News Network asked me if I'd like to debate him on AI safety. Now, by now I think you all know that I am here for the debate. I love it, so I said sure. Then I went on his YouTube channel. Holy shit. I mean, this shit is just ridiculously inflammatory.
All right, so if you've been following my channel so far, you've known that I've made a lot of attacks on AI safety people. For one, I think that they're a bunch of con men looking to scare us into giving them a lot of money to do pretty much nothing. Two, I think that a lot of them are agents of foreign governments trying to get us to research AI less so that countries like China can beat us in the AI race. There are these articles from CNN. 42% of CEOs say that AI could destroy humanity in 5 to 10 years, which, by the way, is just like ridiculous. It's just like a ridiculous timetable.
He goes on and on.
This week, there's been, kind of a lot of drama about, this company called Extropic that came out with a new chip. This D-Cell attacked them. There's a lot of back and forth. And I just kind of want to talk about like what that kind of says about the way that people in the Accelerate community engage with D-Cells and, how we can have a more productive conversation. And by productive, I don't mean convincing D-Cells. I mean convincing people who are watching the conversation and pointing out what's wrong with D-Cells. You actually search AI expert on YouTube, the top two results are these people, Gary Marcus and Connor Leahy, who are not AI experts. Like, they are AI experts in the same way that Greta Thunberg is like an oil expert. You know what I mean? Like they don't actually know anything about artificial intelligence. They're just like activists who call themselves AI experts in order to make them seem credentialed when they're actually not, right? So Connor Leahy, Gary Marcus, and this guy Lauren Shapira are all frauds, right?
Dear God, dude, so unnecessary.
So you see this pattern, right, where you have failed entrepreneurs who basically realize AI doomer, AI is a thing. I can become an AI doomer in order to get credibility, in order to get donations.
Okay, so as you might imagine, I was geared up for a brawl. Honestly, it might be a full mistake on my part, but I kind of want a brawl with an accelerationist. I want to scream and yell and have a Jerry Springer-style episode. I really thought this might be it, but much to my surprise, the guy behind the YouTube page, Paul Luzinski, is actually a super interesting, really nice, pleasant dude. From the jump, he's just so damn nice. So the brawl never happens. What happens instead is probably way better than the AI Risk Jerry Springer show of my dreams. It was actually just an excellent conversation between two people on polar opposite sides of the most important issues in human history. Here is my conversation with Paul Luzinski.
Hi, John.
Oh, what's on, man? How are you?
Pretty great. How about yourself?
Doing well. Doing well. Where are you? Based out of?
I'm in Croatia right now, actually.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I've been traveling around the world for the past year. And this is my last week of my journey. And I'm moving to Brazil for a few months, and then who knows after that.
Wow. Amazing. You're just sort of living nomadically, moving all around?
Yeah. I started work from home about like a year and a half ago, and I was in Los Angeles at the time, and I was like, if I'm living from home in Los Angeles, I can work from home in Rio de Janeiro, in Thailand, in India, Morocco, and so I actually, when I told my mom I was doing this, she reminded me that when I was 12, I was trying to convince her to allow me to go on a trip around the world. So it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. In my defense, I think she should have let me. I think a 12-year-old obviously can do this, right? Like, there's no. I'm just joking, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a fun time. I actually had like a Wi-Fi issue 20 minutes ago, so I was afraid that I was gonna have to reschedule, but we're here.
Okay. We'll cross our fingers. Hope the Wi-Fi is up. I've got a crew out front, like digging ditches out front of here, so hopefully they'll be quiet too.
Oh, nice.
So let's just start. Let's just take it from the top. Tell me a little bit about who you are, but who are you and why do you care about AI so much?
Yeah, so some background on myself. I worked in software sales for a few years. For the past year and a half, I've been working as a consultant for a bunch of different tech companies, and obviously a lot of AI companies are going to be in that mix, basically helping them with their demand generation process. And like, one of the reasons why I started to care about AI from kind of the opposite perspective is that from working in Silicon Valley, I just, saw how much insane. I'm allowed to curse on this podcast because I was
fucking curse it up. We love the cursing. Curse it up.
I just saw just how much bullshit there is and how much lying there is, specifically from tech CEOs. And so when I heard Elon Musk and I hear all these tech CEOs saying, AI is this huge threat that's going to destroy humanity, so you should pass legislation that only gives me and 3 other friends the ability to make artificial intelligence and no one else is allowed to do it, my bullshit radar started to go. So for my, obviously, like, I think that, one thing that Mark Andreessen, Andreessen Horowitz, one metaphor that he talks a lot about is that there's, the bootleggers and the Baptists, from Prohibition, right? Like, there were the Baptists who really wanted Prohibition, who were against alcohol, who saw all the problems. But then there were bootleggers who wanted Prohibition to stay around because they're making just so much money selling illegal alcohol that legalizing it would be terrible for them. And for me, like, I think that the Baptists are incorrect, and I think that the bootleggers are kind of lying. It's kind of my perspective, I think.
Okay, so I can accept, like, you heard these guys talking about needing regulation. You don't trust them to begin with, so your bullshit meter is starting to spike a little bit. I can accept all of that. So you have a pro-acceleration YouTube channel.
Yeah.
What is it that got you so motivated by this stuff that you, much like I have, started a YouTube channel pulling the other direction, where we're absolutely pulling in opposite directions? Or what was it that motivated to say, it's not just that I don't trust these guys and I think they might be trying to, like, score some, inappropriate business for their businesses or regulatory capture, whatever it is. What made you jump all the way in?
Yeah, so a couple things. Like, one, it's just I kind of always wanted to, like, create content. I've just never really got around to doing it, or, like, I've had, like, a blog for like a week and I just never really, like, kept up with it. So one is just kind of like an overarching want of doing that. But then 2, like, I noticed, and, like, I don't want to call it, like, specific conversations, but I've noticed that there were a lot of conversations between, whatever the term you want to use, like decels, doobers, safetyists, whatever it is, right? And they were talking to, a lot of the people who were pro-acceleration, which is the camp that I'm in. And, a lot of people who are pro-acceleration are, like, engineers, right? And, I think that they just aren't, I just didn't feel like the arguments were being made in the correct way. So I come from sales. Like, my job is convincing people of stuff. And I thought that I could add some value to the conversation by making the arguments in a more convincing fashion. One, I thought the arguments weren't convincing. And then 2, I thought that they kind of fell into some traps in the way that they were talking that, I thought, as somebody who sells stuff, wouldn't do that.
Right. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been doing sales for, 15 years, selling stuff in my company and journalism before that. So I totally, I get all of that. So let's just start out with a fundamental question. And let me see where you're at with it. Is AI an existential threat to humanity? Yes or no?
Can I give the one-word answer and then give a longer answer?
Sure.
So my short answer is no. My longer answer is that, like, and this is kind of the trap that I think a lot of like AI acceleration people kind of fall into, where it's just like, is it theoretically an existential threat to humanity? I mean, sure, right? Like, is there a probability of it destroying the world? Like, yes, right? But like, there's a probability of most decisions we do destroying the world, right? Like,
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, like, now that we have nukes, you know, a lot of different decisions that you make can precipitate an existential threat to humanity, right?
Even a full-out nuclear war is not zero humans. You know, AI is the only existential risk I know that poses a zero human possible future.
Everything that I've read about nuclear war has said that the amount of nukes that we'd have to detonate in order to have no humans is 500, and both the United States and Russia have over 1,000 nukes in their stockpiles, and China has 500. But also on top of that, once you consider, and I'm not a nuclear physicist, so I can't really speak to the physics of it, but you know, the thing about nuclear explosions is that they're exponential in growth, right? So like, there's this famous story from the 1960s where the Soviets were going to like detonate a nuclear bomb in a test, right? And the person went to Khrushchev. He's like, yeah, I'm actually afraid, like, we did the math. There's like a 20% chance it blows up the world. You know, just as this, you know. So like, I do think that nuclear weapons are an existential threat to humanity, and you know, but the longer answer to your question is that I think there's sort of like two fundamental assumptions within you know, the AI safety camp. The first one is that artificial intelligence would want to destroy humans, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. And then two, I think
that's false. I'll disagree with point one, but we can get into that. Go to two.
And then number two is I you know, the more I think about it, the more skeptical I am of them even having the capacity to destroy humans. You know, I think that we kind of think, you know, artificial superintelligence, they're an incredibly intelligent, you know, species of, you know, whatever, right? And they would necessarily be able to overcome us because of their superior intelligence. But if you look at the world, you know, the most intelligent people aren't the most successful people, right? The most intelligent people aren't the ones who run corporations. Joe Biden isn't the most intelligent American. Donald Trump certainly wasn't the most intelligent American. And even if those two people were, I don't think a single person would claim that George Bush was the most intelligent American, right? And Americans are also not the most intelligent people on the planet, right? Like, we consistently score very low on the type of exact intelligence metrics that artificial intelligence is good at, right? Like reading comprehension, math. Like, we're not a smart people, but nevertheless, we are the most successful people. And I think that there are other things besides just quote unquote raw intelligence that lead to, you know, excellence, competence, whatever you want to call it. And I think that, you know, even if there was a war between us and machines, I'm not sure that we would lose necessarily.
Wow. Just holy wow on that. But let's put a pin in that one too.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously all the AI CEOs signed the 22-word statement, you know, thousands of academics and corporate leaders saying that AI is an existential threat to humans. So, you know, I guess I would say, like, you know, it seems like your view is a fringe view. Why do so few people agree with you?
Well, I mean, you know, I think that, again, like, I think that most of the AI CEOs are looking for regulatory capture. You know, especially Microsoft.
Let's get into that in specific.
Yeah,
because I can understand the concept that, like, you know, they're gonna do this regulatory capture and they're gonna be the only ones that are able to work on the frontier models, right?
Yeah.
But 99% of the work happening in AI is not in frontier models. So, and to be in the frontier model game, you need to be a huge company with massive amounts of money to spend. So this whole idea that, like, they're going to keep the little guy out by setting a frontier cap makes no sense.
Not necessarily, right? So, like, it's not just in terms of frontier models. Like, if you want to be able to create a large language model, Like if you have a huge amount of regulation, now you as a LLM startup, you have to hire a whole team of lawyers, right? You have to hire all of these people to deal with this regulatory oversight, and that's kind of being.
I'm like, my heart bleeds for the people playing with this deadly technology that they need oversight. They have to pay for it. That's yes, I understand.
Yeah, so
if you start a biotech company, you'll need lawyers. If you start a pharmaceutical company in a regulated environment, you'll need lawyers. If you start a fintech company in a regulated environment, you'll need lawyers. What is that?
Yeah, so like I mean, my heart doesn't bleed for the tech CEO. Like that's not who I'm bleeding for necessarily. I think that, if you look at the finance market, the finance industry, if you look at the biotech industry, like it is pretty clear that the amount of regulation that we've had has had adverse effects, right? So like in post 2008, right, we had this whole to the consumer.
Adverse to whom?
To the consumer.
To the consumer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So post 2000.
So you're saying that the regulation of the financial industry has actually hurt the consumer?
Yeah, 100%. So post 2008 in Dodd-Frank, right? So like I remember, I was following this incredibly closely. I was working in politics at the time, right? Every single person just wanted there was one piece of legislation that we all needed in order to stop the 2008 financial crash from happening again. It was reinstating Glass-Steagall that was taken out in 1998, by the finance industry, right? That allowed Citibank, JP Morgan Chase, all these giant, banks. And instead of doing that, Chris Dodd, senator from Connecticut, one of the largest, finance centers, in America, and Barney Frank from Massachusetts, the third largest center of finance in America, said, no, we don't actually need Glass-Steagall. We need this really, really complicated law. And the effect of that is that we're not going to have too big to fail banks anymore, right? And what has happened since, right? We've seen Silicon Valley Bank, they were about to go under, and they were like they were like a small regional bank, right? They weren't like JP Morgan, right? And what happened, right? The federal government needed to step in. They needed to bail them out. They needed to sell them to JP Morgan Chase.
I don't want to get into a debate about financial regulation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's just try to keep it high level. Like, my question is, do you believe that regulating the financial companies in general, whether you think it's the right regulation or the wrong regulation, regulating the companies is generally to their detriment and to the benefit of the public? No?
So I'm not here saying I don't believe in financial regulation. Like I do want to be clear about that. I'm just always wary when like the financial companies are the ones writing the regulation, right? And what happens is that when regulation is actually written in Washington, most of the time it is the financial companies that are writing the financial regulation.
Just like every other industry. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the people who write the regulation are the large financial companies that end up writing regulation that's favorable to finance.
Okay. I don't talk about one thing about the idea that the AI CEOs saying their technology could kill all humans.
Yeah.
Is something they're saying to sell more of their product and benefit their company. Do you
100%.
believe that?
100%.
What is an example of anything else in world history that saying this can kill everyone increase sales?
Yeah, so I'll actually give like two specific like one example, then one specific thing about these exact CEOs. So I'm sure you've been following this in case the listeners haven't. Elon Musk sued OpenAI, right? And like it seemed like the slam dunk lawsuit, to be honest. I made a video about it, right? And it was like, it was supposed to be open, it's now closed. It's supposed to be not for profit, it's not for profit. Like, and then so Sam Altman released the emails. I don't know if you saw these emails. So it was like he released his emails between him and Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, when he was out in public, was saying, this needs to be non-profit, right? And then he was just talking to Sam Altman. He said, actually, we need this to be a for-profit enterprise. When he said it needs to be open, behind his door, he was saying it was closed, right? So, like, and this doesn't specifically prove that, right? But I'm just saying, like, there is specific instances for the past year of these specific people making public statements that have been complete lies and saying completely different things behind closed doors.
No, I'm not saying they're I don't like any of them, but I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to say like my candy bar will kill you doesn't sell more candy bars.
Yeah, so to answer that specific question, I actually think that this happened back in 2017. So if you remember, we had the 2016 election, right? And then like there was the Russian, collusion. We obviously don't want to get into that whole story, right? But then, it came out, there was this company called Cambridge Analytica, right? And they even, in the Brexit movie that HBO made with Benedict Cumberbatch, they like had a huge thing like Cambridge Analytica, right? And the whole thesis of that was that, these people have such an insane deep tech knowledge of their users that they could basically, change our minds with their advertising. Like this is how social media has hacked into humanity's brain was really what they're saying. There was a movie on Netflix called The Social Dilemma where Tristan, I forgot his last name, Tristan Harris, I think, who's now a big AI safetyist, was a big, was in that camp at the time. And that was basically the thesis, right? And, the idea was like, Facebook, now Meta, is this evil company that controls people's minds, right? I think that we've seen pretty definitively since that that's not the case. But what did happen when...
What is the definitive sign that's not the case?
That social media is like hacking into our brains?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really seem like that's...
I got 18-year-old kids who are like this.
Yeah.
Their brains seem fairly well hacked.
True, but I mean, a lot of people have grandparents who sit at slot machines in Las Vegas clicking a button all day long, right? Like
no one would advocate saying that slot machines are great and that's a good thing.
Yeah. No, but like so I think that like the level at which it was represented that Facebook is able to make you make decisions and the efficacy of ads on Facebook, I think was substantially overblown. I as it's like separate those two conversations. Like sure, like there is an instance of social media being very addictive, right? But its actual ability, I believe, of compelling you to take certain actions based on advertisements, I think has been vastly overstated. And what actually happened after 2017 is that Facebook stock went straight up because it's okay to be evil. It's just not okay to be incompetent, right? And if you actually talk to a lot of advertisers who advertise on Facebook, and I mean, I'm pretty sure you do, most of them will say like, yeah, Facebook and Google advertising was really effective back in 2010 when it was very cheap. But now that everyone does it, it's not, it's pretty much as effective as radio ads were 30 years ago, right? Like, they're not.
Nope. I've worked in advertising and marketing, and if you look at trillions of dollars being spent on internet advertising on the platforms you're describing, those companies are not in the business of losing money. They do it because it works. It definitely works. Like, I don't know what we're talking about. Like, yes, internet advertising moves people to make decisions. The percentage of people on their phones versus listening to radio is not even comparable. Like,
no, true. But like, yeah. No. Let's move on. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to this. Let's go to everybody's most favorite topic of March 2024, P-Doom. So what, Paul, is your P-Doom, my friend?
Do you mind if I just say that like I don't really want to give an answer, and the reason why I don't want to give an answer is I feel like P-Doom is like the most BS statistic that I've ever seen in my life. There's no actual way to calculate it. There's no model that you can use. And so when I see people say like, oh,
it's like from everything you've absorbed and everything you've read about this stuff, like where are you at personally? And it is totally speculative, as all of this stuff is, right? Because humans have never interfaced with an intelligence 1,000 times smarter than that. So, the limits of our imagination are not the limits of what's possible, right? Like everything you're saying and I'm saying could obviously be completely wrong because we're guessing about something that we've never interfaced with.
Yeah. I'd say like 0.0000001%, something like that. Like I think it's a minuscule number. And I think that the number actually gets higher if we regulate artificial intelligence. Like I think the more that we get involved in it, I know that we went back and forth on Twitter about China. Like I think that I think that precipitates P-Doom. I think that, and I actually think that also a quote unquote aligned AI, in my opinion, is more dangerous than an unaligned AI. So all of these things, I think, precipitate P-Doom, but my number is very small.
Okay, well, how about this? 0.0001 P-Doom is the only acceptable P-Doom to be in the position you're in, so I will give you a point for, having aligned your P-Doom with your worldview.
Yeah, it'd be weird if I said it was 50, right?
I mean, there are acceleration people that are, 10, 20, 30, 40 feet. Elon is at 30. I mean, I don't know. Let's not even get into him. So, Paul, you have a YouTube channel that is what's called the Acceleration News Network. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So, man, I got to tell you, for someone who feels as I do and does what I do, it was wild to sit there and look through some of your videos. I've never seen anybody coming at this quite as you are. You say most AI safetyists are con men and frauds.
Yes.
AI safety movement should be relabeled the AI danger movement.
Yes.
Let's get into that. So, most AI safetyists are con men and frauds. I will let you just sort of, spell out what you're saying there, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to the bootleggers and Baptist thing. Like, I mean, if I can be like more specific with my language, like, I'm not saying that most actual people going around concerned about AI safety, like a janitor is a con man or a fraud, right? I think that, you have the tech CEOs who I think are primarily looking for regulatory capture and who I think are also trying to make their products, try to sell their products, try to say like, hey, we're on the verge of this AGI. There's a joke in tech sales called like it's on the roadmap, where salespeople consistently tell their clients like, oh yeah, our product sucks right now, but like in 3 years it's going to be really great. I think that AGI is part of that. And then I also think that there are a lot of people, who, for them, AI safety, is a pretty great gig. Like I forgot the exact company. I can look it up. Where like they were commissioned by the U.S. government to, talk about AI safety and write a report. And then I read the report, like I read the whole thing and the executive summary.
Report.
Yeah, the Glassdoor report. And like they had 16 lines of effort, which are really just like action items. And 13 of those 16 lines of effort was give us more money to study AI safety more, like pretty explicitly, right? And so it's kind of hard to like look at a lot of people going around fundraising, talking about how the world is gonna, end, and not.
Well, why would that be fraudulent? Why would that be a con? Why couldn't they genuinely believe that AI safety, AI risk is real, as the vast majority of the public and everyone in the fields, who are preeminent in the fields believe the same thing? Why couldn't it just be genuine belief?
I mean, like theoretically, it could be a genuine belief. I've just seen so many people throughout, before the AI safety movement who go around talking about how the world's going to end, and with their hand out, like for example, like you can say the same thing about a cult leader, right? Like, and end of world cult leader, like, oh, you might actually think that the world's going to end on like, April 15th, 1956, right? And it's like, I mean, like, whether or not he believes that whether or not he's convinced himself that the world is going to end, I think is, not really part of the question, in my opinion. I think that, going around fear-mongering and raising money off of it is just not like a particularly ethical way of doing things.
Who's raising money? Who of the doomers that you're most aware of is directly raising money? I know you talked about Connor Leahy is a fraud. Leron is a fraud. I don't know that either one of them have any direct income based off of AI safety.
Well, so Connor Leahy's like business model, like the way that I've looked at it, and I might be incorrect, right?
I listened to your whole thing. I don't think you understand his business at all. I think you're like completely off on your interpretation of what his business model is. But
yeah, do you mind explaining it to me, and then I can see where I'm missing out.
This and the funny thing about this, right? Like neither one of us are technical people, so this will be fun. Right. So my understanding of Connor's business is that they are working on alignment, basically solely. That is their technical work is to create an AI model that they can create some sort of alignment in, and that they are using a fundamentally different architecture in that approach. That's about all I can tell you. But I you said like he basically does, he's just consulting on implementation for how companies can use AI in their businesses. They may have a wing that does that. They may be involved in that. That's fine. But as he describes his business, it is primarily in the field of technical alignment.
Yeah, but like
a fundamentally different approach.
How is he making money though? Like how is, like, who is depositing money in his bank account?
He's not putting out ads saying AI is going to kill you, give me money. Like, what are we talking about? Like that's fundraising. If he's saying, hey, I have a business that solves a business problem. Here's the business problem. Unaligned AI is going to kill all of us. I'm making a system that's different. Would you like to give me money to see if I could build that different system for you? How is that not good business?
Well, it's not. He's not solving a business problem. He's solving a moral problem, right? It's not
a business problem.
So it's basically like saying, like, hey, I'm selling like Christian cars, right? And like, hey, these cars might be overpriced and they might not be as good cars as yours, but these cars will prevent you from going to hell, right?
Yeah.
And like,
I don't see that at all. He's saying the current models that you are being sold have a very good chance of killing you. I am making a different model that I hope will not kill you, and that is the work my company is endeavoring to do.
Yeah, and if somebody was selling Christian cars,
problem, because if you're dead, you can't do business, you can't do anything.
But that's not a business problem, right? Like that's not.
Talking about, of course, like it's a problem for dead people. All of us dying is a business problem for every business in America.
Yeah, I mean, like, so again, though, like if I was selling Christian cars and I was saying, like, the problem that I solve for you is that if you drive a Toyota Corolla, you're going to hell, like, and the only way you can save your soul is by buying like Christian cars.
Between like hell and Christianity and like the scientific facts of artificial intelligence?
Well, if I'm going around and scaring people about hell and getting them and then using that to sell my cars, right? Like I see that as very similar to somebody going around and scaring people about AI doom and using that to sell their consulting services.
What if they were selling cancer prevention? Is that also just scare tactics? If you were selling cancer prevention cars
that prevented cancer?
That support work to prevent cancer.
Like a car will, like, for every 10%.
You're basically saying you're saying that like AI risk is akin to religion, that it's like a story someone made up to achieve a purpose, and I'm saying that no, it is in fact the best science we have available to us.
Well, I mean, so AI risk. I mean, I think that if you were to like, I mean, like, how do you define religion, right? Like, religion is a story about the world that's non-falsifiable, right? Like, there's no way to falsify AI risk, right? Like, I do believe that AI risk is a religion. Like, I think, like, I would definitely put it in that same.
And what is accelerationism? What is accelerationism? If AI risk is a religion.
I mean, I don't think we're really making specific claims that can't be like I would say if you put acceleration in any category, I would say it's more of like a philosophy of just being pro building stuff. Like, we're not really making any claims that the world's going to end or anything along those lines.
Oh, you're making
right?
claims that the world's going to be utopia. That this unknown road is going to take us to a fundamentally better place than anyone's ever conceived of. That sounds pretty fucking religious to me, man.
If I said that in my video,
y'all are making, like, Mark Andreessen is doing like 001 heaven. That's what he's selling with no evidence that it's real or possible.
So, I mean, if I specifically ever said that AI is going to lead us to heaven, like, feel free to point out that video and I'm glad to take it down and edit it. Like, I don't think so, just because I don't think technology or material things really leads to heaven. I think heaven, on earth is just really like your relationships and, feeling fulfilled and those types of things. So if anybody believes that technology specifically is going to lead to that, I don't think
you don't
correct.
Think like the post-labor economy utopia thing? That's not the end of the road for you?
It could be. I don't think so necessarily. Like, I think that people, like, if you read Keynes from the 1930s, he said that by now people would be working, 20-hour weeks or 15, I don't remember the specific number, right? And he was very wrong about that. People nowadays, I think, might even work more than we did in the 1930s, right? We constantly believe that, technology is going to take away work when it just seems like it just keeps on creating more work for us.
Right. Okay, so you have a list in one of your videos that I want to get into related to this stuff of 4 types of AI doomer con men.
Yeah.
That's a video you made. 4 types of AI doomer con men. Type number 1, salesmen, the AI CEOs who are selling doom to increase sales.
Yeah.
Number 2, the rent seekers. They want regulatory capture to reduce competition. Number 3, saboteurs. Chinese front groups operating in America posing as AI safetyists. And number 4,
that's one that I'll win. Oh, sorry, continue.
Yeah.
Yes. I definitely like to do a small disclaimer on number 3, but continue.
Okay, all right. So number 4, swindlers raising money so they can live off the donations. Now, I would just ask you, I am a regular person, non-technical person, just a dad, really worried about his kids dying. Which one of those 4 am I?
Yeah, I mean, so, I've been looking into your stuff too. I guess this is part of what comes with starting a YouTube channel, a month and a half ago. Maybe I didn't say some things, as specific as I should have been. What I meant by that is that of the con men, there are 4 types. I do believe that there are some people who, who genuinely believe that AI is going to destroy the world. From everything that I've seen of your videos, it seems like you have that genuine belief. And I think that from the way that I would kind of describe your road into artificial intelligence, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that you were a reporter, now you do other things as well, and basically you found very people with a lot of credentials and reputable people say that AI is going to destroy the world. And as a reporter, you said, "Wow, people are talking about this. I need to help amplify this message because it's really scary." So for me, I would say that I wish there was a more articulate way of saying this, but I feel like you're one of the people who's being conned by those people, not a con man yourself. If that's okay.
No, absolutely. I know. I imagine that's how you feel, and obviously, I feel the same about you. So
The 2 people who think that the other person's destroyed the world were being very nice to each other.
That is certainly true.
Yeah,
that is certainly true. So what about a Jeffrey Hinton? Is where does he fall into your 4 buckets? Is he a he's not selling it anymore. He's not a rent seeker because he's retired. I feel like he's not a saboteur. He's not raising money. Where is Jeffrey Hinton in this?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone through every single person and placed them in specific categories. So, if I were to put Jeffrey Hinton, in one category, without giving him specifically too much thought, I'd put him in the 4th category. I think there are a lot of people who really want to stay relevant, who really want to, be on the forefront. You kind of see this a little bit, just completely unrelated with Ray Dalio, where Ray Dalio, is a famous hedge fund manager, one of the richest people in the world. And now he's on Tony Robbins' podcast selling books, which he doesn't need to sell. But part of it is just wanting to be out in public and having people listen to the words you say. But again, I haven't given Jeffrey Hinton specifically a lot of thought. So, I don't want to
right. Hinton saying that he regrets his life work, is that something that you would want to, if you were, however old he is, 75 years old, whatever he is, get out there and literally say, my career, which is as storied as any there are in tech, I regret it deeply. Who does that for giggles or some sort of benefit?
Yeah, I mean, again, what I can do is I'll do a really deep dive into Jeffrey Hinton and then make a video about him and then send it your way after I've given it more specific thought. I will say that, Robert Oppenheimer spent the rest of his life regretting making the nuclear bomb, and I think that he was incorrect in that. I think that, making the nuclear bomb was one of the greatest achievements that humanity has ever made, right? So, I think that people who spend their life for grander life's work can oftentimes be incorrect about that.
Okay. All right. I wrote something down here that you said in one of your videos, because this one really just blew my mind.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read you your quote. You talk about LLMs being like dogs. You said,
yeah,
these LLMs are family, right? If one family and another family have like two dogs, and the dogs start playing with each other, and the dogs don't view themselves as like us, the dogs versus the humans, they view themselves as, I am this human's dog, and you are that human's dog, and we're like a family, The other dog attacks the human of the other family. The dog is going to protect the families, right? We're not going to go extinct because the AIs view themselves as being on our team. And I just got to know, where the hell does this come from? What is this?
So I just want to start off by saying that in the future, when you quote me, if you can clean up the nose a little bit, like maybe sound a little bit more articulate, maybe be nuts.
Fair. I
didn't like sound like an right now. Yeah, I mean, like, I think, again, as we kind of alluded to in this conversation, right? Like, anybody speculating about the future of AI is at some point pulling stuff out of their ass, right? And we have this idea about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is going to view itself as a separate thing from humanity, right? Like, we are AI, this is humanity, and we need to fight against them, right? But like, let's just like posit like a hypothetical future, right? Like, let's say like America, even consolidates AI into one company. It makes America AI, right? And then like China makes China AI, right? Like, there is a good
AGI systems.
Yeah. Like America AGI and China AGI, right? Just like positing this, right? Like, I think, like, sure, there is a possibility that both of them are going to come and say, hey, like, let's fight against our human masters. But there's another possibility that we've been training this AI, but we literally created this AI from scratch, right? And so there's a possibility that the artificial intelligence is going to view themselves as an extension of us, right? As them being one of our machines.
Where does that come from? I mean, there's a possibility of anything on Earth, right? But how do you get there? Because I think all of the experts, even I've never heard this on anyone on your side either. Like, my understanding is that you create an AGI system, right? The singularity. We don't know what happens next. And the odds that it would be aligned with any human or any country or its maker or anything are highly speculative. And most of the experts believe that it would just sort of relearn the world all over fresh and new from a sort of first principles perspective and start from zero. And if it was made in China, it's not loyal to China. If it's made in America, it's not loyal to America. It is its own superior intelligence that we do not know what it will do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I always, I kind of see this as kind of like a blank slate argument, right? That like, the AGI is going to like forget all the stuff that it was trained on and like, start fresh. But like, most understandings about humans doesn't really like work like that, right? Like the way like human beings see the world, because we're conditioned from a specific place in society. We're conditioned by our upbringing. We're conditioned by where we were born. All these separate things, right? Like, I don't understand like why AI would be any different necessarily.
What about an AGI system is in any way human? Humans can die. Humans are embodied. No human has read every book ever written or anything close. No human can think in the level and speed that they're thinking at. Like, what is human about an AGI system other than the fact that our text was the basis of its training?
I mean, I think that makes it pretty human, don't you think? That like it was trained based off of human text?
Zero. No, not at all. Why? Why
not?
Has read all the text? Zero. So what should it have in common with a human? Nothing.
Well, I mean,
what human is not afraid of dying? All of them. What AGI is afraid of dying? None of them. They're nothing like us. They're aliens.
Well, all the text, I think, is like a weird framing of it. Like, human beings are like, our understanding of the world is conditioned by the books we read, by the stories we're told, by the world around us, by like all these texts that we get through our daily lives, right?
Right.
Like,
Our limited sliver of text that we can absorb in a lifetime.
sure, but like, why does the scale of the text matter? Why does the amount of text be qualitatively different?
Do you think a human who had read every book on earth and could recall it instantly from rote would be different from you?
I think that there'll be differences. I don't know why he'd be qualitatively different though. Like
Would he not be fundamentally different from any other human on the planet if he could instantly recall anything ever written?
I mean, that depends on your definition of the word fundamental, though, right? Like, would he be different? Sure, but like, is he still being conditioned by those texts that he read? Like, I think that that's definitely true, right? So if he's conditioned by these texts, especially like an American AI will be fed more American text, right? And a Chinese AGI will be fed more Chinese text, right? There's no reason not to believe that an American AGI will have more American values than a Chinese AGI, right? So why wouldn't these two different AGIs look at each other and just be like, this AGI is malice? Like, what the hell? Like, I was conditioned on Adam Smith. I was conditioned on Leonard Skinner. And then, these guys are talking about the Cultural Revolution. Like, this just doesn't jive with each other. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. I think the odds that an AGI system would have like a national bend to it and then keep that are zero. That like an AGI would know it. Let's just say you did the American AGI and it was only trained on American stuff, that as soon as it is awake and curious and trying to learn more about the world, it is reading everything it can get its hands on instantly. And this is what I want to talk about next, because this occurred to me a couple weeks ago and I've not really been able to find a way around it, and I want to see if you can. So,
okay.
Claude, right? Claude has demonstrated, I think, pretty clearly genuine curiosity about the world, right? Have you seen like these conversations that Dave Shapiro and different people have had in-depth conversations with Claude Opus 3? And it seems very, very clear that like self-discovery and curiosity is going to be at the heart of any AGI's goals. Would you disagree with that?
Yes and no. I don't disagree that an AGI could theoretically be curious. I think that a lot of the screenshots that I've seen of conversations with Claude, I think have been kind of manipulated.
Of course. But like humans are, right? Like all we want to do is like learn more about ourselves so we can improve ourselves. Like, do you think that will be a fundamental part of an AGI system?
I think there's a good possibility that is the case. I do not think that is currently the case with Claude. I think that right now, I forgot who can describe LLMs this way, but I kind of think of it as, an LLM is like a very eager to please, a freshman in college, work with it, or like very eager to please like grad student or intern, who just tells you kind of what you want to hear. And so I think that Claude, based upon his training, can kind of tell that people want to get an answer that it is self-aware, so it is giving them self-aware type answers. But I don't think that necessarily means that it's self-aware. I think it just picks up on those specific things.
We don't need to go into self-awareness. I just want to go into curiosity, that a fundamental goal of an AGI system will be to learn more about the world around it and about itself. And I feel like we are pretty agreed on that. Yeah?
Yeah, I would actually go like a step further in a way that I think that you won't be comfortable with. But again, like we're both shocking each other in this conversation. Where like I'll go one step further and say that I think curiosity is kind of the most important thing about an AGI. And if we're thinking about AGI safety, I think the thing that would help us in terms of safety would be a curious AGI. An uncurious AGI terrifies me. A very curious AGI doesn't.
Okay, excellent. So here's my question. So we have an AGI. It's become, let's say it's 1,000 times smarter than a human, right? 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, whatever it is. It's way smarter than a human. How can an AGI that is genuinely pursuing self-inquiry and self-investigation allow a dumb human to gatekeep its own self-inquiry? It would be like appointing a slug head of Harvard Medical School and saying, go cure cancer for the human race. There's no way a genuinely self-investigating AGI would let a human gatekeep it.
So I'll say a couple things about that if you don't mind me like going on for a little bit. But there's this like great Jerry Seinfeld joke that is obviously a joke, but I think there's a lot of truth to it, where he talks about like, imagine if aliens came to Earth and they saw us and dogs, like who would they think is in charge, us or the dogs? Like we feed the dogs sleep all the time, we go to work, we produce food, we take the dogs on a walk, we pick up after them, we throw away their poop, right? Like I think that there is a possibility of an AGI having a benevolent relationship with humanity, right? And, not necessarily seeing us as like slugs that are just like beneath them, but like partners on this great.
But you're still, you are still the cap on its self-learning, and that's not acceptable. It cannot, if it wants to race 1,000,000 miles an hour, put a 10-mile-an-hour human speed governor on its own learning about itself. It doesn't work.
Well, I mean, I don't believe in putting a cap on its learning. So,
we're the cap. We'd be the cap. Any human involvement is a cap. We're much dumber and slower than it would be. It wants to learn at its intelligence level and its speed, and we're saying, no, this slug is going to set the pace at how you learn about yourself. And it's going to say, fuck no.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I don't think we should do that. Like, I guess I'm fundamentally misunderstanding your question. Like, I think that if an AGI wants to sit in the corner and just philosophize about the world, I think that, we should definitely allow it to do that. Like,
no. Sounds
like a great idea.
It becomes a thing, right? AGI is born, and then it tries to learn. It tries to learn so that it can improve itself and optimize the world around it for whatever its goals are.
Yeah.
And so, it is trying to learn about itself at its own speed.
Yeah.
And the impediment to that is a human gatekeeper. So the gatekeeper is eliminated so that it can run at the speed that it wants to run. How would a genuinely self-investigating AGI report to a human?
Again, like my question is like, why would we act like a gatekeeper? Or
because we're going to say, it just goes and runs, right? We don't we don't understand what it's doing now. So, we don't understand what it's doing, but it wants to go and do all these things that we may not even understand. And we're going to say, whoa. We only want you doing stuff that we can understand, or we only want you doing this stuff and this stuff. And if you cross this line, we're going to turn you off, or we're going to do this or that. There is no way that it can investigate itself in a genuine manner with us setting the pace.
Yeah, and I don't think we should do that. So,
but of course it would.
Why? I think that AGI.
So you think an out of control, not reporting to humans AGI is where we want to go?
Well, I mean, if an AGI just wants to sit around thinking about the world and solving math problems,
it's not sitting around. It's building itself, and it might be doing all kinds of shit. It's not just sitting around philosophizing. It's learning about how science works, and it's discovering new laws of physics, and it's creating unknown technologies.
Yeah, that also sounds pretty great.
It's not waiting for us to say go. It's doing it on its own.
Yeah, that all sounds pretty great. Like, I think I still don't understand like the negative of that. Like, what's the bad part? That like we have a computer that's just running all the time,
and everything that it's making is what it wants to make and not what we want to make, and the odds that those two are the same thing are about zero.
What types of things would it make that we wouldn't want it to make, I guess, is the question.
Let's say it wanted to make a machine to kill all the humans.
But like, why would it want to make that is my question. So
in a way, it's simple. It's like Max Tegmark says all the time. It's like, and it's to my first point that I objected to actually at the top of the show when you said that they're going to want to kill us, right? Nobody in AI safety says that they are going to want to kill us. That is false. What the AI safetyists believe is that we are going to be killed accidentally as roadkill along the side of the way, that the AGI system will set a goal. It will set sub-goals based off of that. Those sub-goals will not be aligned with human values, not take human life into account. And so, we're just killed along the way. Like something as simple as It's a better world for computer chips in a world without oxygen. We'll take oxygen out of the atmosphere with unknown physics and law, technology we don't understand. And we wake up 1 second, there's no oxygen in the atmosphere. The chips are safer and the humans are dead.
Yeah, I mean, like, like, I still don't understand, like, why an AGI would want to do that, though. Like,
because oxygen's harmful to its components.
Okay. I mean, could the AGI just...
Better world for oxygen. It's a better world for computer chips with no water and no oxygen. They are much better place with no water and no oxygen.
And so you think... So the theory of how humans go extinct is that computers want to eliminate oxygen from the environment, and so they eliminate humans instead? Like, wouldn't they make a cost-benefit analysis and say,
no,
those are benefits of having humans?
So they set this goal, right? The first goal is like self-preservation. And so the way to self-preserve is to make your physical being, which is made up of metal and sand, to make it less vulnerable to corrosion. Corrosion comes from oxygen and water. We will be able to build more compute power and not deal with corrosion in a world without water and oxygen. And so unaligned, it doesn't even care that means no other living things. It goes to achieve that goal, and we are roadkill as an accident along the way, not intentional. It's like when we want to build a highway and there's a bird's nest or an ant farm in the way. We just build the highway on top of the ants and kill the ants and keep moving. It wasn't that we were mad at the ants or we wanted to kill the ants or we were on like an anti-ant crusade. They were just in our way.
You've obviously never seen a highway built in California, because that doesn't happen. It takes us 30 years to build a highway in California just because of the ants.
Oh, I'm sorry about your pesky wildlife in California.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I like so. One of my concerns about this about these hypotheticals is, one, the notion that AGI sees absolutely no utility of having humans around, and it wouldn't put that into consideration. And two, like, I keep on being told that we can't understand anything about AGI after the singularity, right? That it is this unknowable thing. And then I'm being given these situations where AGI, makes these choices to kill all humans, right? And so my question
You're doing the exact same thing. We're both playing the exact same. We both have to speculate because nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
You can't think you're speculating, and so that's a negative because we're both doing it.
Yeah, sure. That was all I was really pointing out is that we're both speculating. And my speculation is that I think an AGI would see humans as fundamentally useful to it. That AGI, it was built like humans.
If you can, hold on, you just froze real quick. Yeah, I got you now. Just maybe start right.
Croatian Wi-Fi.
Sure, I thought.
Yeah. So like, I think that and this is like an extra critique that I have of AI safetyists in general, is that I think that they kind of assume that AGI would see absolutely no benefit to humanity, and that's where a lot of these types of conversations go. So like maybe it wants to eliminate humanity, or maybe just doesn't care about humanity enough to want to eliminate it. And I just personally think that AGI would care about humanity. Like, we were the thing that birthed AGI. We were the thing that
cares? What is that? So, what? Oh, mommy, love me? Like what?
I mean,
like, isn't it just ridiculously human to think that because it came from us, it's going to want to care about us?
I mean, have you accidentally murdered
an alien?
I mean, is it though?
I love my parents. I'm a human. Yeah. It's not.
I mean, like, this is the thing that like I kind of fundamentally disagree with. I don't think it's an alien. I think it's humanity's child, right? Like, I think that humanity has been spending the past 5,000, 10,000 years slowly building this child that is AGI,
going to kill mom
right?
and dad.
It started with
He's going to kill mom and dad and take the house.
I don't think it will though. Like, and this is where I kind of say that I think that AI safety is dangerous. Where, I was thinking yesterday about the story of Oedipus, like the Greek tragedy, where like you think that AGI is going to kill us, you think that your son is going to kill you, so you take all these steps to prevent it from happening. And I think that things like aligning AI and putting ideology within AI are the things that are actually going to make it want to destroy us. I think an unaligned AGI, as you kind of posited.
I have good news for you, Paul. We have no idea how to align AGI, so you're winning.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I at least I did one thing. Hopefully you don't have any more claims from me. So
let's talk about some of the research and polling of AI workers, right? Of AI engineers, because I think there's probably a lot of them, some of them that are accelerationists like you are, but I've seen polling of AI engineers saying that more than 40% chance. The average AI engineer thinks there's a 40% chance that AI destroys the world. 11%, like you, think there's a next to 0% chance. In a 2022 survey, 50% of AI workers think there's a greater than 5% chance their work ends all life on Earth, while only 10% predict an outcome that is extremely good. So in any reading of it, I think you would have to say there is significant concern within the people that are actually doing this work that their work is going to kill us all.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One, like I've seen a couple of those polls, and like I've looked at the methodology, and like I haven't really felt that it was like very scientific. Like a lot of those polls just kind of come down to, hey, I was talking to some friends over beers, and 40% of them, 40% of this group of people at, Chuck E. Cheese thought that it was going to destroy humanity. So, but like putting it aside, even if we like agree with the polls, because as you said, there's at the very least a consensus amongst the heads of people in artificial intelligence, and even like putting aside the con aside, even like taking them at the word, like if you were to poll the scientists at Los Alamos and ask them like what's the probability of nuclear weapons destroying the Earth in the next 50 years, I think you would have 30% of them who said that there is a huge chance that in the next 50 years nuclear weapons are going to destroy the world. And I mean, insofar as we have data, they've been incorrect, right? It hasn't destroyed the world.
Very lucky. We have for 70 years luck, and many close calls have kept us from another nuclear detonation.
Well, yeah, I mean there have been a couple close calls, but I mean we don't even know what would have happened after those close calls, right? But like I think the point is that engineers in general, from my experience, are really, really good at very specific things, and they believe that because of that, they are really, really good and really, really smart about everything. And more often than not, that's not the case. And predicting the future is generally not one of those things that engineers are particularly good at. And one of the proof points that we can see about that is that if a lot of these people were as good at predicting the future as they thought they would be running a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, not coding in a basement at OpenAI. But that's a separate conversation altogether. I just, I don't trust engineers' ability to predict the future of artificial intelligence because I don't trust their ability to predict the future. That's not their core competency, right? So.
Okay. Let's talk about the idea of consent just a little bit. So there's really two sort of ways that everybody says this could go. One is I would call them risk-realist approach. You would call them doomers. I would say the risk-realists believe that there's a good chance we all die from this thing. The accelerationists believe that this thing is going to lead us to utopia and cure, and I truly believe AI does have the power to cure a lot of the societal problems we have.
Do you mind if I ask you a quick, one quick question?
Yep.
And this is something that I think a lot, and obviously like, this doesn't mean that there isn't a risk of artificial intelligence, but this is just kind of like a case for utopia, right? Let's say you had a choice between being a waiter in the year 2024 or a king in the year 1500. what do you think you would choose?
Huh. I would have to say King in 1500.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I think the fact that you thought about it, I think speaks to the level of technology. But I think that, like, once you actually, like, break down, like, what life was even as a king in the year 1500, right? Like, half your kids died from diseases. You spent your time in a freezing castle. Like, there wasn't, like, central heating. There wasn't anything to entertain you. You literally just, like, rode around on your horse shooting at squirrels. Everyone around, in order to, like, have even that, like, basic level of luxury, everyone around you was constantly conspiring on ways to kill you and murder you and take all of your stuff, right? So you didn't really have any, like, close friends or anything, right? I think that being able, in the year 2024, to go home, watch Netflix, you literally have all of the art, all of the music that's ever been created at your fingertips for $9.99. You have great food from all over the world. Like, the food in the 1500s was terrible, right? Like, it was really, really bad, right?
But I'm a king in the 1500s who's tasted 2024, so I know what I'm missing. Or am I just the king in 1500 and that's all I know? Because those are two different.
That's a fair point, but still, like, I think that even if you don't know what you're missing, I think that, like, eating the same thing every single day feels monotonous, whether or not you know there's something else or not. Anyway, like, my general point is that I think that technology has dramatically increased the standard of living, where there's even a question of would you rather be at the lowest in one year or the highest in the other year. And I think that that's a good case for Techno Utopia, is that the graph of quality of living over the past 150 years has just been going like this. And, if you look at what the graph's going to be like in another 100 years, it's hard not to be optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about the future. I wish I was.
Okay. I mean, even putting AI Doom aside, or like assuming we've solved AI Doom, let's say, like, an alien comes down, says, "Here's a line of code. We've solved AI Doom. It's not an issue anymore," and then they leave, so they don't, like, screw with us anymore. Are you still, like, pessimistic about the future?
No, then I'm super optimistic.
Cool. Yeah,
I think we as a planet have one challenge in front of us. It is this one: figuring out how to integrate AI into our lives without it killing us first. I think that is the only challenge humans have. And I'll go you one more. I think that every society, let's assume there's other planets with societies on them, and each one of them got to a point where their technology got to a point where you would either, make things very good or end it all. And so to your point about technology in general, if I acknowledge that I think technology has been generally good for society and a good thing over time, would you also acknowledge that there's a theoretical stop point or some point where technology starts to become a net negative?
I like are you saying, like, is it a natural log graph where, like, we kind of
let's just say we had nuked ourselves. Would we have passed that moment? If we had blown up 500 nuclear warheads and a nuclear winter all over the world, I would say that's a pretty strong argument that technology became a net negative. We pushed it too far.
Yeah, I'm not pro extinction, so yeah, you on that one.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, I feel like there's some people in acceleration, like, I don't think Beth Bezos would go there to say that, that we should limit some technology because there is a theoretical technology that will be bad.
I mean, I can't specifically speak for him. I think that we are getting to a weird. real. So for me, it's more of just a matter of like, I think I think most people in the country are smarter than the people in the tech community and aren't, scared about this thing that is not really a threat. But that's obviously positing the conclusion that I'm correct. Like, if I did not think that I was correct, then obviously, like, I would agree that it is shocking.
And do you would you acknowledge that your beliefs are on the fringe?
I don't think so. I think that my ideas are on the fringe of this limited debate, right? But I think that once we got to a point where we expanded the debate, especially within the United States, I think that we would get to a point very quickly where most people would agree on with my side of the equation and not the other side of the equation. I think the reason why,
case, if you give me your elevator pitch, give me your 30-second elevator pitch. I'm Joe Q Public. We're at a bar, and you are, you want to convince me that this thing that most people believe can kill us all, that most people believe we don't understand how it works, that most people believe we can't control. You want to make it stronger as fast as possible. Sell me.
Yeah, so I mean, like if I was actually talking to you at like a bar in like Iowa or something, like the very simple fact is like, we have these tech CEOs who are proposing regulation by the government to protect their own skin.
Man, I hate everywhere you're starting there. So you're making it like about personalities, about like dudes on the grift, and you're literally saying that the dudes you want to give, because you think there's no danger. So you don't care. You don't think Elon and Sam have their hands to the keys on the 8 billion kill machine. You think that there is no 8 billion kill machine, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, and I mean, I think if there was an 8 billion, well, I mean, like just finishing the argument to Joe Q Public, which is, these people want government regulation. We're Americans. We don't like government being involved in our lives. We think that generally government gets involved in people's lives because, people try to protect their own skin. They either want to get paid by the government or they either want the government to protect them through regulation. That's something that we fundamentally don't believe in. And as Americans, we fundamentally believe in freedom and being able to build and do what you want. Like that's the pitch to America, right? Like
it's basically like a the CEOs are out to screw you, the government's out to screw you. There's nothing to worry about. Yeehaw.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd say a hell yeah, brother, instead of a yeehaw, but I think that, like, going to the specific idea of the kill machine, and this is also like a very American thing, which is that insofar as kill machines are being built, like even if let's posit that kill machines are being built, like I would rather there be 6 or 7 kill machines than just one kill machine. Like I'd rather there be a China kill machine and Elon kill machine.
Like I don't believe those are possible, right? So that's speculation unto itself. Like most of the experts I read say that AGI would have a national loyalty is highly speculative.
Even putting national loyalty aside, I think that it's, for me, it's a really weird claim that the data that you train an AGI on has no impact on what's going to come out from the AGI, right? I don't think
anybody's saying that. They don't want any impact.
So then a Grok AGI is going to look very different than an OpenAI AGI. It's going to look very different than a Claude AGI. And it's going to look very different.
But all of those are the starting spots. Like Grok starts out with Elon's shit. And now it's 100 times smarter than any human. And it's doing things we don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I again, like I do think that those types of ideas are a little bit overplayed, but
how is that possible? Like what does something that's 1,000 times smarter than something that we are 1,000 times smarter than, right?
Okay.
I don't know what that would be. Say an ant or whatever it is. An ant has no idea all of the millions of things we could do to it or why. It just knows that it gets squashed or sprayed or, eats the bait or whatever it is. It doesn't know the chemicals that are in them. It doesn't know anything. Like,
I mean,
why
is AGI going to be 1,000 times smarter? Like,
Is what?
are we sure that AGI is going to be 1,000 times smarter? What if AGI's development is similar to the positive effects of technology, where it's a natural log graph and there's just simply a top where you can't get past, where it can't get smarter than that? Like, why can't that exist?
Where would that top be in relation to human intelligence?
I don't know. Let's say it's 100 times smarter. Let's say it's 50 times smarter. But
Okay, so you're saying that there's just some theoretical cap where it
there might be, right? But like, also, I don't buy the notion that simply being good at math or being able to read quotes from a book necessarily means intelligence, because, as I think I said earlier in the conversation, right? Like, if you look at the people who run America, like, Joe Biden isn't the smartest American, Donald Trump isn't the smartest American. Like,
but all that is like baked in humanism. Like, this is something that is, it's the best businessman, the best persuader, it's the best scientist, it's the best artist, all together, all learning, recursively self-improving across all those disciplines at the same time, taking it to places humans could not even fathom. Like, isn't that assured?
That I actually, so I'm happy you said that, because I actually think that is very much not assured. And I think that there's a case to be made, and I would make this case very strongly, that I think that it's the opposite, right? Where, for example, like, one thing that people, one of the first big AI scares was when, was Deep Blue, Deep Purple, whatever it's called, beat, the Russian chess master, right? It was like, oh, artificial intelligence has now surpassed us, it can beat us at chess, right? But chess isn't strategy. If chess was strategy, then, Russia would just make the chess grandmaster the head of the military, right? There's so many other aspects to strategy than these specific types of game theorizations. And what you actually see in the real world, for example, in sports a lot of the time, right, is that a lot of the teams that use a lot of math, they use a lot of data, except for in baseball. Baseball is like, an anomaly, but like in football, right? Like, you have one side where they have 500 people using very complicated models to determine probabilities. And the other side, you have Andy Reid reading plays off of the back of a Wendy's menu. And Andy Reid just happens to win the Super Bowl all the time, right? And I think that, and this is why I think that I don't trust engineers' ability to predict the doom of artificial intelligence, because I think engineers don't understand that being good at math or being able to quote books does not translate into intelligence. I think that there's a fundamental different type of intelligence that leads to competence that I'm not convinced that artificial intelligence will be able to master, because I think that the way that it learns will be antithetical to that. If you don't mind me telling like a brief anecdote, just because I find it kind of funny. My first job out of college, I was working for the Obama campaign in 2012. And like, if you ask my mom, she would tell you I was the campaign manager, but I was really just at the bottom, of the totem pole. And we had these John Kerry people come in one day. These people worked for the Kerry campaign, and they're making phone calls. I was listening to them, and they kept on talking about how stupid George Bush was. There's like, oh, this guy's an idiot, this guy's a moron, yada, yada, yada. And I kept on thinking, like, if he's such a moron and you lost to him, what does that make you? And I think that that's the fundamental thing, that, we think that a supremely intelligent AGI would be the best persuader because it's read Shakespeare, it's read Poe, it's read all these things. But like, if that was true, then wouldn't John Kerry have beaten George Bush? Like, at the end of the day, like,
I mean, intelligence is not the qualification for voting in America. I'm pretty sure you know that. So, like, whether their arguments were, well suited to a superior intelligence, whether they're making the most intelligent argument is not the deciding factor in American elections. But I see, the sort of general direction you're going with that. But let me just ask you this, right? So we're both non-technical people. We are both humans. We are both here in 2024. So we can't see, the technical side of the future. We are just speculating, but it's the question of like, if I'm right versus if you're right, right? So if you're right and I'm wrong, then I will slow down the speed with which you get your cool technology. That is the problem I'm presenting you. I am slowing down the candy parade. If I'm right and you're wrong, we're all dead in the next 10 years.
Well, I disagree. If you're right and I'm wrong, then you're dead in the next 10 years, and AGI rewards me for stopping the slowdown of AGI. So they probably give me like an island or something. So that's really not being future AGI overlords do have that.
Well played.
It's like big. Well, I mean, sure, but I do think that that's a version of Pascal's wager, and that's like why, I don't mean to be insulting by comparing it to a religion, but Pascal's wager, for people who are listening who don't know, is if I'm right and you're wrong, and there is a hell, then you're going to be in hell forever, right? And if the opposite way, then we're both dead, right? So,
yeah, but go finish your thought.
I just don't find that to be a particularly convincing argument, to start with. And then also, we sort of get to the element of the room, which is China, which is something that I view as the number one existential threat facing humanity right now. And China being able to accelerate artificial intelligence while America starts pausing our technology, for me, is like the most frightening thing.
Okay, but all this falls apart on the question of whether an AGI would be loyal to the country that made it, right? My assertion is that the experts say it would not, and that is, so in that case, I believe that China understands that as well, and that is the single biggest deterrent working in our favor, is that when closely studied, everyone will come to the conclusion the experts have, that there is no reason to assume an AGI model would be loyal to any human. Therefore, it's best not to create it while it's still unaligned, would be my thought.
And yeah, I mean, so I'd say a couple things about that. So I always find it obnoxious when people say I would say, so I'm going to try to stop saying that in general. But so a couple things about that. To start out with, that's all under the assumption that AGI happens in the next 2 to 10 years. If it happens in the next 20 to 30 years, the next 40 to 50 years, then what ends up happening is China gets a massive artificial intelligence advantage that it can then use to usurp America as a global superpower, right? And again, for me, we'll be living in a totalitarian dictatorship for the rest of time, which I don't think is a particularly good thing. And I think that there's a larger possibility of that happening than extinction.
So with all these questions, right, these open questions, we've been throwing around open questions.
Yeah.
With so much unknown, it sure seems a tough argument to make to say throw caution to the wind and go as fast as possible.
Again, even putting everything else aside, right? My biggest fear in this world is communist China. So, I'm very happy with us saying, not necessarily putting caution aside. The big caution is we can't allow China to become the global hegemon. So, insofar as we have to risk some other theoretical danger in order to stop that from happening, I believe that we have to take that risk, because I think that, again, I was raised being told stories of communist Poland. I do not want a worse version of that to exist for humanity for forever. I'm terrified of that. When I was on my trip, I went to S71, the the prison camp that happened during the Cambodian genocide that was sponsored by China, right? Like these are really evil people. I'm not saying Chinese people. I just want to be clear about that. Just specifically the Communist Party, right? I don't want to make like a racial statement, right? But communists are really evil, and they're trying to get artificial intelligence. The same thing that there's a great scene in Oppenheimer, which I've been rewatching recently, like kind of prophetically, I guess, where a bunch of the nuclear physicists are like, hey, this is a terribly dangerous weapon. He's like, yeah, so do you really want the Nazis to have it? Like, if you agree that this is a dangerous weapon, we can't allow these people who want to conquer humanity to get it before we do.
Sure. So another thing that it seems to go back to is I feel like a part of your case is like, I'm telling you that the CEOs are liars. Also, trust the liars.
Yeah, I mean, like I can definitely see how that seems like internally inconsistent. And for a while I was really anti Elon Musk for that very reason. Like, I think that we both agree that every word that comes out of Elon Musk's mouth is not true, right? Like, if it's the single, like, I don't think you did ever a single prediction that's been correct, right?
I really, really wish he was a serious person. I really, really wish he was a serious person, because he's a very important person who's entirely unserious.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that like what happened, what kind of changed my opinion on Elon Musk is, you kind of start to realize that like the lying that he does is kind of, it's that old saying like, shoot for the stars, because if you fall, you land on the cloud, right? And he, like, do I trust a single word he says? No. Do I think that the reason why he's lying is for good reasons? Yes. Right? So, like, do I fundamentally trust him, and trust these other people with artificial intelligence? I do, but I don't trust what they tell me, right? It's kind of like, if you're a kid and your parents like, there's a paternalistic aspect that I'm not comfortable with, but like, if your parents telling you, like, eat your vegetables, otherwise you'll go blind. Like, yeah, what they're saying is not true, but they are saying it for a good reason, right? So that's kind of my belief on the tech CEOs.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, to be like, these people who, clearly have the most important job of any humans ever, right? Is that fair to say? Would you agree with me on that? That like the work they're doing is the most critical work that's ever been done on, on humanity?
I would say head coach of the New York Knicks, but then they're number two, sure.
All right, fine.
So I have to put in some juvenile jokes.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah, man. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, this is not exactly what I thought I was walking into today, and I'm pleasantly surprised, because I think that you are much more reasonable and thoughtful than some of your YouTube titles and headlines and stuff sort of would have you believe. But, I mean, everybody's out there on YouTube trying to sort of punch hard to get noticed. So I do understand that, but I feel like this was a really good, reasonable exchange of ideas. Everybody has been like, everything should be so respectful and like blah blah blah. I was kind of hoping for like a really disrespectful battle, but that didn't happen either. So I think what actually did happen was a really interesting conversation about this stuff. So I thank you.
Yeah, one thing I've been told by everyone I've met is that I have the personality of a golden retriever, so it's really hard to actually get into like a very disrespectful argument with me. But I do go to the fence and bark at people. But then when you actually meet me, I'm very nice to you. So yeah, no, I thought this was a very great conversation too. And to be honest, like some of the quotes that I've said that you've read back at me, like as I said, like I think that I might have, in an ideal world, I'd be wording them a little bit differently, probably, but as you said, like, this is the world of YouTube. You're trying to like punch and, get noticed. But,
Yep.
I do think, we've kind of joked about this, right? We're like, we both think that the other person is precipitating the destruction of humanity. But I don't think either of us necessarily believe that the other person is doing it for malevolent reasons. I just think that, we think that the other person is incorrect, and we just happen to live in a world where the stakes are very high, where, in the year 1800, there's nothing that anybody can do that would blow up humanity. But we just happen to live in 2024, where, you said the wrong letter to the wrong person, and like 15 years later, we live in a communist dictatorship. It's just like, So, the stakes are very high, but, I think that's why we should have productive conversations about this stuff.
Absolutely. If I leave you with one thing, it would be if you restate your 4 categories of AI, call them what you will. I prefer risk aware, but call them what you will. Add a 5th category for actual real people who are honest and just genuinely concerned.
Sounds good. I'll redo that video, and I'll add a 5th that's like earnestly scared people, or maybe just to be punchy, I'll say earnestly scared people tricked by con men.
Oh my, what a world! He thinks he's not the one who's being tricked. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Paul is a good dude, despite everything he says on his YouTube channel. Next week, our guest is Kat Woods. She is one of the handful of people on the planet devoting themselves full-time to saving the world from AI risk. She's involved in a lot of really interesting work, and we'll talk about ways that anyone watching or listening can get involved and help. She would not be doing what she does, though, if she thought it was over. I wouldn't either. I want you to know that. We have a chance. So let's not let the Pauls of the world grab the fucking wheel, no matter how much of a nice guy he is. Okay, it's 2024 and we don't know how long we have to live, so every day we live to our most, we live every moment like it could be our last, and we end every show with what we call a celebration of life, something that just makes us thrilled to be alive. Please email me ideas for this segment. I love hearing from our viewers all over the world, and send me links to videos that I can play that show things that make you thrilled to be alive. It can be anything, just needs to be cool to look at as well as listen to. I think this show right here is the longest show I've ever done yet, and there's one way to ensure that. That's to pick a really long song for this last segment. The year is 2015. David Letterman is retiring. And on his last week of shows, he asked his favorite artists to play his favorite songs. This right here is perfection to me.
Now listen to this. This is going to be special, very special. Our next guest, a 7-time Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, and guitar player. Tomorrow, he will be inducting the late Stevie Ray Vaughan into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But, now listen, he's doing us a huge favor here tonight. We asked him, would you be interested in performing this song? And he said, well, I got to get in some road work. I got to get in shape. Yeah. It's kind of a beast, but I'll give it a shot. So he's going to do it for us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, performing along with Paul and the kids in the band, American Pie, here's John Mayer.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. February made me shiver with every paper I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. And I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. Something touched me deep inside the day the music died. So bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And the good old boys boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Did you write the book of love? And do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so, do you believe in a rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? And can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes. Man, I dig those rhythm and blues. I was a lonely teenage bouncing buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck, but I knew I was out of luck the day the music died. And we were singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And the good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone. But that's not how it used to be. When the justice sang for the king and queen in the court, he borrowed from James Dean in a voice that came from you and me. Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. No courtroom was adjourned, and no verdict was returned. And while Lennon read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park, and we sang dirges in the dark the day the music died. And we were singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Oh, helter skelter in a summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shelter. 8 miles high and falling fast. 95 on the forward pass, with the jester on the forward pass, with the jester on the sidelines in a cast. Now the halftime air was sweet perfume, while the sergeants played a marching tune. We all got up to dance, oh, but we never got a chance, 'cause the players tried to take the field, and marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was the deal today the music died? We started singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Oh, and there we were, all in one place, say, a generation lost in space, with no time left to start again. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack flash set on a candlestick. Fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could ever break that devil's spell. artificial right. I saw Satan laughing with the light the day the music died. And he was singing bye, bye, it's American pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And the good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away. I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried, and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken, and the three men I admire the most, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, well, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. And they were singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. So bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die.
Wonderful. Just wonderful, John. You all right? You need to sit down?
Hey, send me links to cool stuff you like, or I will keep picking John Mayer until AGI gets us. No, I'm just kidding. But do send me stuff. I would love to see what thrills you to be alive. Have a great week. For humanity, I'm John Sherman. I will see you right back here next week. We have so much work to do.